Now, I have to start this video by saying this is one of the, I mean categorically, the weirdest games I've ever played. The weirdest games I've ever played. For a start, you'll see me struggle with the menu here because there's just no clear button system. But let's just forget about that for a minute while that's going on in the background. Look at the art style. It's just freaky. It's weird. These letters, I'm sure they're meant to be intestines or something. There's an eyeball in the eye for Estigma. God knows what's going on. But there's no explanation for it. There's absolutely no explanation for it. The game is called Metaphysical Transgression. God knows what that means. There's just no... If you have no background to this game, you just have absolutely no idea what's going on. I ended up smashing a load of buttons on my keyboard to even sort of finally try and get us into a place where we could play this game. And then it gives you this little Bloodline tutorial or immersion. Now, don't get me wrong, it would have probably been wise of me to play the tutorial, but I ain't no bitch. So we're going straight into stage 1 immersion. But that's it just gives you nothing. Like I say, don't get me wrong, if I played the tutorial it would have been easier. But I just guessed, you know, because this character's sort of laying these squares down, that we just have to go and fill these gaps, and that's pretty much what I did. Now, obviously, it's just a weird-looking puzzler. Like you can say, these mouths are sort of shooting eyeballs at me. There's a brain to collect. It's very, very strange. Very, very strange. But relatively straightforward. Relatively simple. Nothing too impossible about what we're trying to do. It works for me. Don't get me wrong. As a puzzler, it works for me. But I was just spending the entire time so freaked out by what's doing. Look at this doll's face shooting eyeballs at us. Like, very, very strange behaviour. And now, obviously, this is where I found out you can't go back onto a square that you've already been on before twice. Which, obviously, loses you because I've been hit by 2 gigantic eyeballs. Now, I definitely did fail this a couple of times, as you'll see here. And this game, you know, as a puzzler, isn't that bad. It's not too bad. At this point, I knew I'd failed, and I think I just stay still. Yeah, so a puzzler at this point just isn't that bad. But it's... Yeah, it had lost me with the art style, and the difficulty wasn't that bad. There's a timer, as you can see, bar at the bottom. But overall, I thought, for me, coming in as a total newbie to whatever this game is, without any sort of prior background research, I thought it was poor. I don't think it's necessarily a bad game. There's just no explanation. It's so freaky, so weird, and it's totally right up some people's street. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the horror genre. I'm a big fan of Resident Evil, for example, stuff like that. I just think, unfortunately, this one isn't quite for me. Now, as a result of that, you know, I got low scores. I gave it a 10 for the gameplay. Didn't really make sense to me a lot of the time. I had to figure it all out myself. And then a 5 for the graphics. I thought the graphics weren't that good at all. They were just designed to be a bit creepy and a bit scary. And, you know, overall, I just wasn't a big fan of them. And obviously, on the table, that puts it at the bottom, currently in 8th place. Now, again, this is one of those games I do feel like at some point we're going to get a 0 or a 5 or even a 10 score. So I don't think this game is going to be bottom of the pile come the end of the series. But I do think it's something they need to be careful of. And for me, it's not one of the best picks. It's definitely not one of the best picks so far. But anyway, guys, this has been Madder on the Unity YouTube. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time with another Freeview.